All right. Good morning, y'all. Good afternoon. It's almost afternoon. But as I'm sitting here getting my day started and just kind of getting some tasks done, I'm doing the homework that my mentor gave me, right? So I have a mentor and we will be having 6 different sessions, and we done a consultation, and then we had one session, so 5 sessions ago, and it's every 2 weeks. So I am a deaf doula. In addition to all the other things I do, I am a deaf doula. I took the certification. I say certification because really you don't need a certification for it. But I did take the certification back in 2023, end of 2023, because I went on a spiritual retreat, and I met deaf doulas there. Like, a few of the instructors were deaf doulas. I had never heard of a deaf doula. And one thing I am somewhat comfortable with is death. Um and so a lot of people know what a birth doula is, but haven't heard of a deaf doula. And so even like when I ask, say like I'm at work, they do like the setup for different specialties, different jobs. Hospice was one of them, right? And so I walked up to him and I'm just like, do y'all use deaf doulas? Now I'm located in North Carolina. Now, if anybody in North Carolina see this video and your facility use deaf doulas, please reach out to me, because I hope to give y'all more of this content coming this year. Honestly, I hope to give y'all more spiritual content about the things that I do, because I do want to do more of that, but I also know that I have to create space to do that. So I'm definitely still working on that, and still kind of getting my footing. But this is something that I have kind of like, it's kind of like Reiki, the same experience with Reiki. I took a class and then I still felt like I had a whole bunch of questions, or I still kind of didn't feel like I had good footing. So I went and took more classes. And so same thing with this deaf doula. I took a class and I'm just like, they gave me a lot of information, but it's not aiming what I want to focus on, you know. And so one of the questions that my mentor wanted me to journal on was, what does death ask of me as a guide and not a fixer? So, I got the windows open, love natural lighting. It's still cold outside, but I think I'm gonna go outside and ground and pour some libations. But I was like, let me just sit with these questions, because I'm not quite sure what answer I have yet. So, I've been sitting here, I went on, ate, drank me some water, stuff like that. And I just kind of sat with the question. And all that really came to me was patience and empathy. And I was like, okay. So let me elaborate on this. Y'all, that damn fire thing, this little chirping, I changed the battery and plugged it back up and it's still chirping. So I don't know why it's doing that. But back to the topic at hand. So as I, kind of sat with it some more, I'm like, okay, patience and empathy. Okay, cool. I'm like, now let's elaborate on this. Now I have the tendency to, I balance between I'm gonna do the bare minimum, or either I'm going to do too much. So a lot of times I think I'll do too much, and it's like, nah, that's not even required. Like, I'll be wanting this long draw down answer, and when I tell y'all like this is all that I have, and like, I'm like, Terry, this is enough. It was one question. It ain't gotta be long drawn out. It ain't gotta be like a whole page. Cause y'all, when I tell y'all, I can talk. I can talk. But I'm very detail oriented, and I be really wanting people to understand what it is that I'm talking about. But of course, that's a whole nother conversation. But what I want to talk about is, like my mentor told me, birth and death is the same portal, and it is. And it is, because I feel more comfortable being a deaf doula than I do being a birth doula. But I also know that's just simply because of my lack of experience. That's all that is. We get comfortable with things that we're familiar with. That's why we stay in the situations that we stay in. But the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? Just like laboring, death can be a long, grueling process too. Especially the way in which some people go out. Like with me drowning, I wouldn't ever want to go out like that. You know, people who have issues with their breathing, because keep in mind too, I'm a nurse, so I'm that's why I'm also so acquainted to dealing with death. But you know, it's just like it can be a long, grueling process. So people in these situations, all they need is some patience. I ain't gonna say all, but one thing that they probably could benefit from is patience at that time. Just be patient with them. They trying to be patient with themselves, and they need you to be patient with them too. I said, but not only that, I said, you know, when you think about death, to not sound insensitive, it never happens at the opportune time. Death or when your water break never happen when you know it's not like these people can just schedule. Hey, I'm a pass on this day. Hey, let's break my water on this day. And I'm not talking about elective C-sections and stuff like that. I'm just talking about overall in general. They ain't like, hey, you know, I'ma just hold my water and then, you know, at this day, at this time, I'ma let my water break. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So just going back to, they also need grace. Cause yeah, we may be get a little bit frustrated, like, you know, like they done passed the whole water, bro. Now I gotta leave from work, or you know, I gotta find a flight to fly in. But showing grace and empathy, because even though it may seem like an inconvenience to us, we have to drop what we're doing, stop what we're doing, you know, pause our life. Baby, they did. Their life stopped. Period. Their life stopped. Period. So let's have some compassion. Let's have some empathy for them, right? And I made a post on Facebook, and I was just talking about how to be with people in their most vulnerable moments isn't something that I take lightly. Like, especially with older people, when I have them as patients and stuff like that. Because, y'all, I forgot what day it was, but I worked. And I was, you know, trying to go through, do all my assessments and stuff. So then, and look through the orders. And I'm just like, everybody want to talk. Everybody want to talk. But I try to hold that space for them, especially with older people. Because think about how often people don't check on them. How sometimes they have very limited social interactions. You know, it's a lot of old people get bypassed. Or it's like, dog, I don't want to talk to them because they're going to hold me so long. But sometimes that's what they really be needing. And so I really do try to make it my business to, you know, of course, being aware of time. Or maybe I'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to come back and we can finish talking about this. But just holding that space for people. Because I couldn't even imagine how I would feel aware that I was going to pass. And I did a TikTok about that before, about my little woman that I went and bought the mashed potatoes for. And I sat down and I talked to her. And I was asking her, like, how does she feel? Because she won't eat and stuff. And she was like, I'm going to pass. And I'm like, do you want to? She was like, no. And it's just like, I don't even know how I will feel in that situation. Truly. But then on top of that, I was talking to a woman at work a couple weeks ago. I think maybe it might be about 2 weeks ago now. She used to work corrections. And I'm like, oh, you know what, you work in a hospital now. And, you know, she's a CNA and she works on oncology. So I'm just like, she was telling me about how prisoners would off themselves. And, you know, they having to cut down the body and dealing with that and how much trauma that was. So now it makes me think of death in a full capacity. Like, what does that look like? How do you handle it? Do you handle it differently?